War takes men in many ways. Some are lost in battle, their final moments recorded in history. Others are buried beneath rubble, names etched into stone memorials. But then, there are those who simply vanish. No blood, no remains, no final stand. They were there, and then they were not. Men trained for combat, marching toward their orders. Then, without a sound, an entire battalion is erased. No bodies to recover, no graves to mark their passing. A mystery so complete that even those who sent them into the field could offer no explanation. They were young, many barely past 20, a regiment chosen for their discipline, their endurance, a standard operation, advance, secure, report. Nothing beyond their training, nothing they hadn't done before. They were seen moving across the valley, their figures blending into the shadows of dusk. A final transmission confirmed their position, but no further reports would come. No final words, just silence. Days passed, no movement, no sound. A retrieval team was dispatched. They were prepared for an ambush, an attack, some sign of resistance. What they found instead defied all reason. Rifles lay in the dirt, fully loaded, footprints leading in all directions, yet never away, equipment abandoned mid-task, and the fires still warm, as if they had only just stepped away. But the men, gone. No drag marks, no blood, no disturbance, just absence. The official response was swift. An internal investigation, reports buried, a statement issued, lost in combat, presumed dead. But those who were there, those who saw the empty camp, whispered another explanation, one that was never written down. They did not run, they did not fall, they were taken. History is not always recorded. Some events are erased, buried beneath layers of bureaucracy and silence. But silence is not the absence of truth. It is only a delay in its discovery. This file was never meant to be found. Officially, it does not exist. Unofficially, it holds the last known records of a battalion that, according to every surviving report, ceased to exist. There are records of their existence. There are documents detailing their orders, but there are no reports of their return, no communications, no survivors. And then there is this, footage that should not exist, images that do not align with the official account. A photograph meant to capture a moment in time, but something does not belong. A face obscured, no explanation, no logical cause, as if the subject had been present in one moment and gone in the next. Among those who knew, among those who read between the lines, there was only one name for them. A name that surfaced only in hushed conversations, spoken only in places where no official ears could listen. The Ghost Battalion. They were assigned to a forward position, a reconnaissance unit tasked with securing ground, a mission simple in design, no major enemy presence, no recorded threats. It was not expected to be anything more than another movement in a larger war. They advanced at dusk. A final radio transmission confirmed their coordinates, a check-in scheduled for morning, but when the call came, no one answered. The official report was swift, a line in history. No foul play, no conspiracy, a battlefield loss, nothing more. Names were listed, condolences sent, a battalion swallowed by war, like so many before them. Among those who searched, those who stood where the battalion was last seen, another version existed, a version never written, only spoken, a warning passed between those who knew the ground was wrong beneath their feet. Taken. By what? By whom? There was no answer, only the certainty that whatever had happened was never meant to be understood. It was found in a box of forgotten relics buried beneath medals and old letters. The grandson of a veteran, sifting through his family's past, expecting nothing more than war records and photographs. Instead, he uncovered this. At first, it is what one would expect, a soldier's record of movement, formations, notes on rations and morale. Then, something changes. The reports stop making sense. The words take on a different shape. What begins as routine documentation soon becomes something else. The entries lose all structure. The writing is rushed, the letters uneven, scratched across the page as if written in urgency or fear. Mentions of movement in the darkness, sounds without sources, an overwhelming sense that they were no longer alone. They stopped counting the days. Time became meaningless. Watches failed. The sun set too soon or not at all. Their perception wavered, stretched, pulled apart. Some swore hours had passed, while others claimed only moments. No one could agree on what was real anymore. This was their last known movement. No records exist beyond this point. Only fragmented accounts, whispers among those stationed nearby, brief messages intercepted before silence took hold. The first sign that something was wrong was him. He returned from reconnaissance, but something was different. His voice was flat, his words clipped, unnatural. And then his rifle fired without his hand on the trigger. They shook him, called his name, but he did not respond. Then he took a breath, sharp, ragged, and whispered, "We shouldn't be here." Weapons malfunction and time anomalies. Their weapons failed, not from damage, not from neglect, simply stopped working. Each rifle, useless. The weight of metal in their hands, nothing more. Night fell too soon. One moment, daylight. The next, blackness, a void. The air became thick, as if pressing in on them. Some said they could hear movement just beyond sight. Some claimed to hear their own names whispered from the dark. The final message was brief, fragmented, and then it was cut off. "They're in the fog. They don't make any sound. We can't run. If you hear this, don't." They went in expecting a battlefield. What they found was something else entirely. Their disappearance was not immediately addressed. Reports were delayed, inquiries deflected. But war does not pause for mysteries. Orders were given. A search team was assembled. What they found was not what they expected. There was no indication of an attack, no blood, no impact craters, no bullet casings. Their weapons remained, fully loaded, safety mechanisms still engaged. But the soldiers themselves? Gone, their belongings untouched, as if they had simply stepped away and forgotten to return. What they find? Then they saw them, or at least what remained. Jackets buttoned, equipment strapped in place, as if the men were still inside them. But they were not. Nothing remained of the soldiers who had worn them. Not all of them were gone. One remained, a single soldier found curled against the base of a tree. He did not react to their voices, did not respond to his own name. His pulse was weak but steady, his breathing shallow as if he had been holding it for days. He did not speak at first. Hours passed. The sun dipped lower. And then he whispered, 4 words, over and over. There was no delay in the response. A report was issued. The language was precise, calculated. A single paragraph was released to the public. But what was written is not always what was believed. Those who had been there, the ones who had seen what remained, spoke in whispers away from official ears, because they knew this was not the work of war. This was something else entirely. Not all records were buried. Not all voices were silenced. Among the classified files, one phrase continued to appear, a phrase never officially explained. An event. No further description. No attached details. Just a designation. One that, according to those who have seen similar reports, is only used when something cannot be explained. The official narrative was clear. The battalion was lost. The investigation was concluded, but those who were sent in to recover them, they never spoke publicly. Some refused. Others disappeared. A few, however, left messages that should never have been heard. Those who walked into that valley came back changed. They spoke of missing time, of voices in the static, of a force that was present, not seen, but felt. Something that did not belong in that place, but was there nonetheless. There was no enemy, no battle, no retreat, and yet they were gone. The question is not just where they went, but what took them. They have been seen, not often, not clearly, but enough for those who notice to ask questions, and for those in power to insist there are none to be asked. Soldiers, marching in formation, no recognition in their faces, no destination in their path. They are seen, and then they are not. A distress call, one that should not exist, picked up on an unused frequency, a signal that has been inactive for decades, a voice weak but clear. They say the past is behind us, that time only moves forward. But how do you explain a call for help that was never sent? A voice from a unit long gone, reaching out as if they were still there. Then there is this, an unmarked grave, no identification, no records. The excavation team expected remains. Instead, they found gear, weapons, helmets, documents, all belonging to the lost battalion, but the condition was impossible. Metal rusts, cloth decays, but what was found was neither old nor new, as if it had never aged, as if it had just been placed into the ground. Some say war is hell, but what if some soldiers never left it? What if in some way they are still marching? Not forward, not backward, just marching. A footstep disturbs the earth, but no one is there. If time moves forward, then what happens to those who step outside of it? To those who walk too far? Maybe they are gone. Maybe they are forgotten. Or maybe they are waiting. The past should stay in the past, but every now and then it reaches forward. Maybe they were never really gone.